Welcome to Longshore Coffee. We have another roast vlog. This is the second one that we're publishing, and this is for our signature house blend backpack. This is a really delicious coffee, and it is so named backpack because when I started Longshore, I was selling coffee out of a backpack as a teacher and at various other places as well. Now, backpack is a medium roast, and so for me, that means that I'm going to push this a little bit past first crack, not long enough to get really dark and develop a lot of caramelization, but long enough to build some nice sweetness and body. But I don't want to lose some of the brighter characteristics of the origins that I'm using, which are a Guatemala and a Mexico. And the Guatemala that I'm using in particular on its own has some nice like bright kind of citric notes. And those are really balanced out by the Mexican coffee that I'm using. So that's my goal, and let's see if we can achieve it. Now, a couple things you'll notice off the bat as well. If you look at roast path, there are three lines that I pay attention to, but the green and the orange are the bean temp and the environmental temp respectively. On my bean temp, I started and I'm following pretty close to what the master profile that I'm using is. But the environmental temp, that orange line, you'll see started a bit lower. And that's going to have some bearing on this roast. It means that we're going to turn around a little bit lower of temperature, not later in time. It's still going to be around 1:40, but we're going to turn around just a few degrees lower than what the master has. It also means that my drying time is going to be a little bit longer. And that's totally fine for what I'm going for. And then everything else is just going to be dependent on that. So if, for example, in the master, I was hitting dry shortly after 5 minutes, here I'm going to hit it around like 5:30, 5:40. It is what it is. And if I'm hitting that at that time, then everything else is going to be pushed back by that long as well. Now, at this point early on in the roast, I'm going to start looking for defects that might come out if, say, the temperature is too high or something. So I'm going to get on the dryer and I'm going to look for things like facing or scorching, where the faces of the beans take on a little too much color. I'm also looking for good things. I'm looking for freshness. I want to smell the greenness of the beans. At this point, there's going to be a lot of like grass, matcha, alfalfa kind of smell. It's really, really nice. It does not smell like coffee at all. But if you have some really fresh greens, you can definitely smell it at this point. And these definitely had those characteristics. They're really fresh. These are from La Bodega, which is a smaller kind of offshoot of Cafe Imports. La Bodega sells smaller, so 20 kilo bags. And I love that as a small coffee roaster. It makes it really accessible for me. So shout out to La Bodega, keep doing what you're doing, and let's get some more coffees in those smaller quantities. Now, this is a part in the roast where there's not a lot of hands-on things for me to do. This shot pretty much captures it. I'm standing, I'm staring at a screen, I'm just thinking. I'm thinking about new projects, new ideas, new blends. I'm also just enjoying the process, enjoying the space, and where I'm at. This was one of the reasons why I decided to become a coffee roaster, because I have this creative desire and urge to participate in that creative process. And it's during these kind of lulls and down moments where I think about that, and I really enjoy it. And I hope you can identify with that, and maybe you can leave a comment down below with, what is your creative outlet? Where do you get to experience that pensive, thoughtful moment of enjoying the thing that you're doing? And if you don't have that, well, I hope you can develop something along those lines. I think creativity is just an essential part of what it means to be human, to make, to participate in begetting and bringing forth. So I hope you get to experience that as well. All right, back to the roast. So you'll notice the environmental temps started to catch up a bit to the master profile. It's never quite going to get there. It's never going to be quite parallel, but the ROR is actually paralleling the master pretty nicely, and that's nice. That's what I'm going for. So we're starting to get closer to dry now, and I'm on the trier. I'm looking for those signs that the coffee is dry. Now, if you're looking at the sight glass just from the video here, it looks like we're hitting that yellow, brownish yellow color, but we're actually not quite all the way there. There are things that I'm seeing. There's still some shades of green and still some green smells, a little bit of that matcha and alfalfa still in there, although now it's getting more bready. And at this point, it's getting really close. I should probably have called it like right now, but I put it off a little bit because I still just detected a little bit of greenness. And so I'm gonna call it when I detect pretty much none of that greenness, and that's gonna be right now. Now, I haven't talked a lot about the airflow adjustments or the gas adjustments I've been making, but at this point, my airflow is still on the low to medium side. For me, that's in the low 20s RPM. I'm gonna start bringing it up slightly in some micro adjustments, and the gas at this point is 75, 80%, maybe a little bit lower. And it's at this point in the roast, in this middle phase, where a lot of important stuff happens. This is where you can make decisions that will greatly affect the flavor and the character of the coffee. So for example, I've noticed with this particular coffee, if the middle phase here is too short, so if there's not enough time between dry and first crack, then a lot of the brighter notes in the Guatemalan part of the blend really comes out, and that can be nice if that's what I was going for, but I don't want those to be the dominant characteristic. I want them to be a lot more balanced with the sweetness that the other origin brings to the table. So I'm going to stretch this out a little bit, and for this particular blend, that allows me to get a more balanced cup with a really nice balance of sweetness and acidity. Now that balance is very important for this as my signature house blend, because I want it to appeal to a lot of people, not just the specialty coffee drinkers who are looking for maybe some of those brighter notes that might come out, but also people who, maybe they just like a good cup of coffee and they can't tell you all the tasting notes. They're just interested in the fact that it tastes good. And so I've noticed that pushing a little bit more of the sweetness, a little bit more of the maybe chocolate tones or those kind of characteristics will allow me to draw in people who might be kind of on the edges of specialty coffee. So that's what I'm going for here, and that's what this roast will hopefully achieve. So we're about to hit first crack. I've brought my gas down a bit and I've brought the airflow up. I'm going to let you hear the initial cracks in a moment here. Alright, so we've called first crack, and this is where all the hands-on stuff happens. I'm bringing the gas down. I don't want to just tank the ROR, but I do want it to go down from where it is. It's kind of plateauing, and I don't like that. I want to bring it down lower. I want to stretch out the development time here, the time between first crack and the time that I drop it. So I'm bringing the gas down more in little micro adjustments. I'm bringing the airflow up to its highest setting, and my goal is to have this last phase be around 20 to 23% of the total time. We've got a pretty healthy crack underway. I'm going to let you hear that now. The ROR is a little bit higher than I want, but that's okay. I can bring it down pretty quickly, and I'll still have room to stretch this roast out to where I want it to be. Now the bean temp is 386. I want to end around 397, 398. So there's not that much longer to go. So at this point, I'm really bringing the gas down low, and I'm actually going to turn it off pretty soon. And I'm going to get on the trier, and I'm looking for those nice, like kind of baker's chocolate, cacao. I'm looking for some, maybe even some like cinnamon, kind of mulling spice notes. And I'm really looking for the characteristics that make this coffee nice and balanced. So there's just a few degrees left. I have turned the gas off, and I'm about to engage the cooling arms and fan. We're going to get on the trier and look for those nice, balanced, sweet notes that make this coffee delicious. It smells really good. I'm really excited with how it turned out, and I hope you have enjoyed hanging out throughout this process. If you'd like to pick up a bag of backpack, you can stop by the website at longshorecoffee.com. I have plenty of it for sale. And I hope you can enjoy the coffee while you're doing something creative and fun and interesting. So once again, thanks for watching. Make sure you go to longshorecoffee.com. Use promo code video10 for 10% off at checkout. Cheers.